Shalom, brothers and sisters who have arrived here on this channel. The information that I have to give you guys here is amazing. It's an amazing discovery that I haven't seen other channels anywhere do or say this as well. So what I'm gonna tell you guys here is amazing. Stay up to the end of this video for you to understand what's going on here, because on the Second World War we had an identical scenario to what is happening right now on the verge of the Third World War, which is for us the moment called tribulation. It's something that is so identical that is unprecedented information about what's going to happen, what it's about to happen as well on this moment of time. So on the Second World War, we had several things that are very similar to what will happen on the tribulation that I call World War III. For example, the Second World War lasted for 7 years, 7 whole years, counting 1939 all the way until 1945. And we know that the tribulation will last for 7 years. So first similarity here. On the Second World War, we had a dictator who wanted to rule the whole world. So the dictator wanted to rule the whole world, and he couldn't, but it's just like what will happen on the tribulation, because the Antichrist will govern the whole world. He will have authority and power to rule the world. So another similarity here. On the Second World War, there was a persecution happening, a religious persecution, mostly of the Jews. However, I know that some people say the church was also persecuted by Germany on the Second World War. And we know this is like a shadow, a foreshadow for the tribulation, where there will be a persecution of the left behind saints here and also the Jews, because they are the main attraction here for the Antichrist to govern them. Also on the Second World War, there was a mark. If you remember, the Jews in the concentration camps, they were marked, and that's a representation of what the mark of the beast will be in the tribulation in the World War III. So there will be a mark, the mark of the beast, which is more than just a barcode. I believe it will be like a QR code, something on the just like that, because you can see now on the news they are already talking about microchip implants. They are talking about electronic tattoos. So they are preparing the world to accept the mark that will come after the rapture. And also, Israel was in the center there in the World War because the Jews were persecuted. And because of the Second World War, the Jews received Israel and they became a nation after the Second World War. And we know that the tribulation, the World War III, Israel will be in the center as well, because the Antichrist will eventually persecute the Jews as well. So they are going through Jacob's trouble. So there are by itself a lot of similarities between the Second World War and the Third World War, which is the tribulation. If we go to 1937 and 1938, there are a lot of similarities to now, the 2021 and 2022. Because both years, they were Shemitah's cycles. So let's put here 1937, 1938, and 1939. And 2021, 22, and 23. And we can see that the Shemitah cycles were in 1937 all the way until the September 1938. And for us, now it's 2021 all the way until 2022 here. The end of Shemitah cycle for the Jews happening here in the late September, 26 and 27 of September. So by itself you can see that this has a lot of similarities. If we get a calculator here, you can realize that 2022 is a Shemitah cycle. Subtract 7, we get 2015, 14, 15, also Shemitah cycle. Then 2007, 2008, also Shemitah cycle, and we can go 2001 all the way until 1945, which is the end of the Second World War. Shemita cycle, and 1938, which is the one we are seeing here right now. So both of these dates here, both of these periods of time, they were very similar. They are very similar, and we're gonna check here what happened right before the Second World War started. So let's go here to Wikipedia, so we can see what happened here in 1938. So we can see here Second World War. In Europe, Germany and Italy were becoming more aggressive. In March 1938, Germany annexed Austria, again provoking little response from other European powers. So on March 1938, Germany annexed Austria in their countries. They became more aggressive. So take a look at this. In 1938, in the middle of the Shemita cycle, the aggression begins in March, when Germany invaded and annexed Austria to their territory. So this is very important for you to see how strong this is. But right after this aggression started here, we see this. There was a red blood moon on 14 and 15 of May 1938. So 10 years after 1938, they declared independence on the 14th of May 1948. So 10 years after they declared independence, 10 years previous, a red blood moon happened here in the Shemita cycle right before the Second World War. Now what happened right after that? So we go here, we can see here that after this beginning of aggression here by Germany, in the 29th of September 1938, they signed a Munich agreement. So a pact here, they signed a pact with Germany, United Kingdom, France, and Italy. They signed this pact, this agreement, so Germany would stop annexing territories to their territory. So this was an agreement that they signed here on September 1938. So we can see here this Munich agreement was signed on the 29th of September 1938. And as you can see, it's right after the Shemita has finished. So right after the Shemita cycle, on the next year, the following year after the Shemita, they signed an agreement. And you can see here on the calendar, September 1938, that Rosh Hashanah, for them, the first of Tishrei, the Feast of Trumpets, happened on the 26th and 27th of September that year, and right on the 29th day of September, they signed this agreement. So right after Rosh Hashanah, they signed this agreement. And we know that this agreement didn't last long because it was broken. It was broken in the middle because we know the Second World War started on September the 1st, 1939. And this information is also here on Wikipedia. Let me just leave it here and we can see here. In generally, it is considered that in Europe, World War II started on 1st of September 1939 with the German invasion of Poland. So Germany, they broke the agreement, Munich agreement, and they invaded other countries. That's what made United Kingdom and France declare war to them, and it began Second World War. So as you can see here, also I forgot to mention that in September 1939, Rosh Hashanah happened in the 14th and 15th of September 1939. So on the 1st of September, that happened the Second World War, was still this following year after the Shemita. So as you can see here, the following year after the Shemita is where they signed the pact, they broke the pact, and the Second World War started. So by itself, you can see this is very important for us, and it is very similar to the year that we are right now. Okay, so 2021, 2022. It's also a Shemitah cycle, and right here in the middle of the Shemitah cycle, what happened? What happened here in the beginning of the year 2022? We see that the aggression by Russia also begins in February. So Russia started to invade Ukraine and annex, get some territories for themselves as well. Right in the middle of the Shemitah cycle, the Russia aggression begins, or began, on February 2022. Not only that, but right after February, we also had a blood moon happening on the 15th and 16th of May this year, which for us, we know it is Passover. Very important blood moon that happened here, but we know now that it wasn't just a single blood moon happening here. It was one moon in a tetrad, and 4 blood moons happening in Passover, Sukkot, Tabernacles, and Passover Tabernacles here. That is happening 2021 and 2022. So as you can see here, is very similar the moment in 1937, 1938 to now 2021, 2022. So what can we expect to happen right after this Shemitah cycle? Most likely what? The Antichrist will make a covenant, a pact, and they will eventually break this covenant and start the Third World War in 2023, just like it happened back then in 1937 and 1938. It is very likely. But what I have to show you guys go even further than this, because take a look. Clearly we can see that on 14th of May 1938, it wasn't just a blood moon, it was a blood moon on Passover. And this is something huge. But I didn't stop there. And as you can see, November the 7th, 1938, the moon became blood red when on the full moon of the 7th month, which is for us Tabernacles, Sukkot. So blood moon on Passover, the 14th of May, 1938, right in the middle of Shemitah, and then blood moon on Tabernacles right after the end of the Shemitah cycle here on 7/11. We can see here that is very, very similar to the blood moons happening today, because there was a blood moon on Passover, the 15th and 16th of May 2022, and then there will be a blood moon on Tabernacles, the 8th of November, happening 2022, and here was 14 and 15 of May and 7/11 here, 7th of November on Tabernacle. So I went to see if there were more blood moons before here on 1937, and I couldn't find it. However, full moon on the first month, Passover again. So we can see a pattern happening here, and as you can see here, the 28th of October 1939, also a red blood moon happening here on Sukkot Tabernacle. So as you can see here, this is something huge. This is something out of this world in similarities, because a blood moon tetrad also happened on 1938 and 1939. The beginning of the Second World War happened right in the middle here of the blood moon tetrad, right there before the Second World War. This is something completely out of my mind, because already by itself a blood moon tetrad doesn't happen quite often. It's very unlikely. We found that 2021, 2022 blood moon tetrad, and now we can see that tetrad happened also in 1938 and 1939, right there in the beginning of the Second World War. This is amazing. This is something that it's so out of this world. It's so much coincidence that makes me think that this Shemitah cycle cannot pass with the church in here, because clearly we can see this pattern here repeating itself with Israel in the center, because the Second World War was a thing that made Israel come into the world as a nation. And we can see now that this Shemitah cycle, where they are expecting their Messiah, is the moment where perfectly fits the Antichrist to come, make a pact, and start the Third World War, and we know all of the things that will happen in tribulation. This is just something out of this world in coincidence, let's say this. Because it's too much information, it's too much similarities for not to be something major happening right now after this Shemitah cycle. It's something out of this world, guys, out of this world. So we can see that the Shemitah ended with an agreement that was broken right the year after the Shemitah. So we can expect that this Shemitah will end. There will be an agreement, a pact, a covenant, and that covenant will be broken by the Antichrist after the Shemitah cycle as well. And the blood moon tetrad happening there back then and right now, it's something amazing. It's something that we cannot forge, we cannot fake it. Also, it will be the end of the summer that will end on the 21st of September. So it will get the summer harvest still. It's the end of the summer, and it is the moment before the Shemitah cycle changes for the Jews, that they believe it will be right there on September 26 and 27. So take a look. September 2022, for them, the Shemitah cycle will end on Rosh Hashanah, Feast of Trumpets, 26 and 27 of September. Another very big similarity to 1938, which also the Shemitah cycle will happen on 26 and 27 of September as well. So 1938, 2022. 1938, 2022. Basically, it is the same dates, the same moment, the same period of time that we are waiting right after summer ends. He came as a lamb, he will return as a lion for us, to gather us out of this world by the end of the summer and before here the Shemitah cycle changes, which perfectly aligns to what happened all the way back there before the Second World War in 1938. So this is a perfect match. I can't see how this can go any further. I cannot see this happening again 7 years from now or 70 years from now, because the alignment is perfect in all scenarios that we have been studying and seeing with all the brothers around the world. Dr. Barry, Pastor Sandy, this guy here, Bob Barber also. So we all can see clearly that this is the moment, it's a perfect moment for the tribulation to start, right after here the Shemitah cycle changes. And the rapture has got to be before this moment. And to complete this even further, I discovered here that the full moon of September is called the harvest moon. And as you can see here in the almanac, it is the harvest moon, and they put a wheat harvest full moon here in September. So it matches everything that we have been seeing, everything that we have been studying, everything that is up to now the most perfect scenario ever for the rapture to happen and for the tribulation to start. I cannot see how this go past this summer. I cannot see how this go past even more years from now. I cannot see this happening after the Shemitah cycle changes. For us, this is the perfect moment for the rapture to happen, and right after that, it perfectly matches what happened in the Second World War, to a point that even 2 blood moon tetrads, something super rare, happened there and now as well. And we can only see that because we understand how the calendars work perfectly according to what we see in the skies. So this is something amazing, guys. Amazing. Full moon, harvest moon in September for the wheat harvest in the end of the summer, right before the Shemitah cycle changes, right before the fall begins. And literally the fall of the Jews in the world will happen right before the Third World War starts, just like it happened in 1938 and 1939. It all matches perfectly to this moment of time. And we here in this channel, and you guys here watching as well, can clearly see this. And I don't see how it go past this moment, because it's too much evidences for it not to be anything. It is so much evidence that I believe it's more unlikely to not happen, to nothing happen, because of all of this scenario here. it is more unlikely that something will not happen than that it happens, because it is too much evidence for something to happen, and we can clearly see that what is going to happen is clearly the tribulation and our rapture out of this world before the tribulation. Clearly, it is pointing this moment to arrive. So this is huge, and I went to check here the moment when the Antichrist can come here to make this covenant, to make this pact. And we all know here basically that on September 13 to September 27, so right after the full moon here, there will be the General Assembly of UN, the 77th session, so 77 is already something big, happening here, and it will end by the time the Shemitah cycle changes for the Jews on the 26th and 27th of September. So on this General Assembly, most likely the Antichrist will give a speech here, I believe, because on last year they showed on the UN YouTube channel, they showed the beast, the dinosaur, giving a speech in the UN about climate change. So most likely the Antichrist will most likely be here in this session and give a speech, because he is the beast that came out of the earth. Everything shows us that we are in the precise moment to expect the harvest of the church, the harvest of the wheat, and right after it, the beginning of the sudden destruction, which will come, which the Antichrist will come, make a pact, make a covenant that he will break after 3.5 years. So everything matches perfectly. I cannot see how this go past. I cannot see this alignment perfectly matches any other moment in time in the next, I don't know, hundreds of years. And this is something unique, special, and out of this world. Only we could understand this because we understand the calendars now. So it is too much evidence for this to go without the harvest happening here in the end of the summer. I believe we are there. I believe we cannot go past this any longer. I believe there can't be any more confirmations than this. It is already too much evidence for it not to happen. And I believe you that are watching here are ready and very excited to be raptured out of this earth very, very soon, because we are very clearly seeing that we are about to live for sure. This is something that no other time we have been seeing an alignment like this happening right now. So brothers and sisters, get ready, be closer and closer to Jesus, be closer and be filled with the Holy Spirit, be ready to live this world. Don't let anything or anyone in this earth trap you here or lock you down here, because very, very soon it won't matter much, because we are about to leave this earth for sure. I hope this video has blessed you plenty. I hope this video have given you a lot of excitement about the rapture about to happen, and I hope you share this information with all of the brothers and sisters around the world who will want to see this information, this identical scenario happening for us right now. It is another proof that God is with us, another proof that God is showing us for sure that this is the moment of time, and we cannot go past this, because it won't happen again for a long, I don't know how many years, but a long time. So Maranatha, brothers and sisters, I hope to see all of you in the air very soon in the marriage covenant of the Lamb. Maranatha, brothers, Maranatha.